Well, Simon Rosenberg is president and founder of the New Democrat Network, a progressive think tank and advocacy organization. I asked him how the changing demographics will impact U.S. politics.
America today is going through one of its most profound demographic changes in all of its history. Really, in many ways, since the arrival of the Europeans on this land in the 15th and 16th century. We're moving from being a majority white country to one that will be majority minority in just another 30 years. And so part of the great story of America in the 21st century is how the country deals with these profound changes, including who has power and how power is allocated in the country. And I think what you're going to see in this next 10-year period, when power gets reallocated based on population after the census, is that people of color, minorities in the U.S., are going to become much more politically powerful in the U.S. because there's just more of them, and particularly Latinos, which is who are the fastest growing part of the American electorate of the 21st century.
I mean, it's interesting that you talked about how does this translate in terms of who has power, but what about the political clout of Hispanics? I mean, how much political clout do they have? Because aren't they underrepresented in the electorate when it comes to voting and getting their issues taken care of, illegal immigration,
for example,
being one of them?
Yeah, great example. Look, Latinos were not even a separate category in the United States Census until 1980. So the growth of Latinos, in 1965 there were 3 million Latinos in the United States. Today there are almost 50 million. This is a very recent phenomenon in the United States, and so they are absolutely trailing behind in political power to their representation. It's not surprising given just the recent influx of Latino immigrants. But where you see Latino influence being the greatest in American politics is in the presidential election. Because of the way the Electoral College is set up in our country and the distribution of Latino voters are disproportionately in very critical presidential states. So in the 2000s,
California, Texas, Florida,
Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, right, are the five of the 10 big states in 2012 will be heavily Latino states. So what it means is that Latinos become an enormous battleground in the presidential race, more so than they do in the congressional and Senate races. Today, where things stand today, is that Latinos really lean Democratic. And it's largely because of the anti-immigrant rhetoric of the Republican Party in recent years. In the earlier 10 years ago, when the Bush family was in power in the United States, who were much more sympathetic to Latinos and to immigrants, that was not so much the case. I mean, Latinos were trending much more Republican back then. But recently, because the Republican Party has become much more nativistic, much more intolerant of immigrants, Latinos have flocked to the Democratic Party and were instrumental in President Obama's victory in 2008. What's going to happen with Latinos is that the story of the U.S. in the 21st century is increased political representation, and I think you'll see a Latino president certainly in my lifetime.